Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you? Sorry for the short delay. My name is Alan Rowland. I'm the Education Manager for CompTIA, and I'm glad to be with you here in sunny San Francisco. My co-presenter is
Bill Saichek, professor from Orange Coast College. To add a little bit of educational gravitas to this presentation.
That's right, to make it sound more true.
Because we as educators would never lie.
So what we've done, CompTIA, how many of you are the schools that belong to CompTIA's membership? Okay, a couple of them back here. At the end of the session, if we have an extra 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to tell you about our new 2011 membership plan, which essentially would let most of your schools join at no cost. So your students can take advantage of being certified if they want. But we'll get to that after this session. One of the missions of CompTIA as an industry association is we are constantly in touch with our members doing surveys and research of the information and communications technology industry. By the way, we've been using that term for many, many years. I don't know why that seems new, but it is not used very effectively in the U.S., that's for sure. So we're going to talk a little bit about the information and communication technology workforce as it exists, talk about some of the trends that our members, not only in the U.S. but around the world, are telling us are important in terms of jobs and careers. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the value of certification, how it can be used in conjunction with your degrees and certificate programs to provide your students with a competitive advantage in the workplace. And then some of the other things that are coming up in IT skills. So just so you know, CompTIA is the Computing Technology Industry Association. You don't need to spell the name when you talk about us. We're not CompTIA, but we are a global trade association, which means we represent manufacturers and resellers of hardware and software. We also partner with affiliated organizations like publishers of educational or technology content, people who provide educational services like all of you, and other types of groups that are now considered partners of CompTIA versus part of our actual membership. So we'll just kind of start off here. The existing state of the ICT workforce is we're seeing some pretty significant trends over the last 3 years, partly due to some influence by the United States Department of Defense and global trends in cybersecurity. Security is becoming an incredible job opportunity in ICT. How many of you are currently teaching some kind of cybersecurity program? Are you the actual teachers? All right. How many of your schools, if you're not an actual doing the class yourself, how many of your schools are doing something? We see this as the #1 trend in education, at least from my perspective over the last 18 months. More and more schools are getting involved in cybersecurity education. In fact, we work with an organization out in Maryland called CyberWatch. Probably some of you are members of CyberWatch, okay, back here. And they are heavily promoting some new cybersecurity initiatives. At Orange Coast, in security and networking.
Yeah, we've had a networking program in place at OCC for, well, since I started teaching there back 1990-ish. So we've had a networking program for the longest time. And we've been slowly growing into the security aspects of it. And the more security we add, the more people demand it. Not only our students, but of course our industry partners. Our advisory council says every single aspect, every class that you're teaching, not just in convergence and ICT,
Polycom interact, can they ask questions or
in everything from
okay, so I should just mention that.
To even office applications. Are you talking about security? Are you talking about making sure that the systems are secure, defensible, et cetera, et cetera? So we're seeing a huge expanse in the security arena, not just specifically to one class or one certification, but to the whole gambit of how are you securing everything. And in fact, we're even working with other areas on campus to talk about how physical security and cybersecurity have to go together.
Yeah, very good. I meant to say as we started off, I want this to be an interactive session, so please feel to chime in at any point with questions or comments. I'm always interested in getting feedback from our education members or prospective members. The other thing that we're seeing also is, and you heard this in the keynote, a couple of different times, the proliferation, the explosive proliferation of mobile devices, mobile computing devices, mobile communications devices is just incredible. And we're seeing that as a huge trend in people doing, you know, creating apps, for example. What do you have right there? What is that thing? iPad. What is that? I've never, what is an iPad? So it's a big phone. That's good. Except it isn't. But, so iPads, how many of you have an iPhone or an iPad? How many of you have a Mac? So I get in my email this morning that what happens in the Mac world is today. Anybody get that same email that I did? The Mac App Store is launched today, so now all of us with Macintosh computers can download different applications. I was showing Bill one of my new apps from, I don't know if any of you use the little device called the Square. This little thing right here that lets you take credit card transactions on your iPad. You want to try it? But you download an app, you plug this thing into your headphone jack, and you can swipe and take credit card transactions once you set up an account with this company. Absolutely free. It's just like PayPal, except you can work directly with credit cards. So those kinds of innovations are really driving the mobile device industry, and now it's even going back to the laptop and desktops by having this new Mac App Store. But what we're also seeing, this last item, the significant gaps between the importance and proficiency reported in areas like project management and non-server specific technology. How many of you have a project management course in your curriculum that deals with IT project management? Tell me about your course, sir. Do you teach it, by the way?
I will be for the first time this next semester.
Okay. So you're like a beta tester guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your students are.
No, they're the guinea pigs, not the beta testers.
That's right, okay.
We're just finding a huge gap just in students themselves knowing how to manage themselves, let alone projects. And we'll be using simple projects
That's kind of mean.
around the campus, and then asking them how they would tackle it, how they would manage it.
Okay. And somebody else had a hand up about project. Yeah.
We have a class in it, and due to budget cuts, we can't ever seem to offer it. We know there's a need in industry because when we meet with our industry partners, they ask us, do you have the course? Yes, we do. Have we
Because of
offered
what
it
he
in a
said,
couple
right?
Years?
Yeah.
No.
So when you say budget cuts, you mean you don't have enough people enroll in order to launch a class because you only have like 2 or 3 people?
Probably, yeah. So
Okay.
this semester, one instructor is going to independently coach 2 students that need it.
Okay. All right.
One of the things that we've done, we're developing a course we're going to offer it this coming fall in project management, and the way we've been able to couch it so that we can avoid some of the budget issues is that it is actually not a CIS type or ICT type class. It is actually a cross-listed course, and we are actually having it co-taught. It will actually be co-taught with people in our business division as well. So it'll be one of our CIS professors who will be teaching it from the technology side of it, and it will be co-taught with somebody out of business. So it'll be a class. It'll actually be offered primarily as a business class with computers as an underlying kind of foundation. So it's an interesting cross. We suspect that's going to number one, it helps the enrollment because now you're drawing from not just your CIS or CS community, but you're also drawing from the business and accounting side of that as well.
Yeah.
So we're expecting that launch. So stay tuned next year. I'll let you know how it
So like James said, maybe there's an opportunity for collaboration where you can touch base and find out how other people are doing their course and maybe get a few more people signed up. Yes, sir.
We incorporated into a capstone course, and then of course you're constantly hearing it from industry. We need more project management,
Right.
These skills taught. And we try to introduce it early, say like in the Cisco curriculum 1, 2, 3, and 4, where we introduce it in 1, and then the students in Cisco 4, they will present their projects to the new students as an audience. But we still need a project management standalone also.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do what you said, because you heard also in the keynote about capstone courses that synthesize all of the learning, and people do that with project management in particular, but they don't prepare people earlier in the process. I agree. I want Bill to kind of help me address some of these. We through some of our surveys of our membership, this is what they're telling us are the top 5 or 6 job openings, and I also want your feedback as far as what your experience is here in California and the nearby areas. So go ahead, and I'll just let you chat about a couple of these as far as what you're doing and what you're seeing in your area.
What we're seeing primarily is companies are looking for, at least our industry partners are telling us, they would like to get the people that are the real high-end specialists, people who have maybe CCNP, CCIEs, and equivalent. But the vast majority of job openings that we're seeing are at the entry levels, obviously at the community colleges. So a field support specialist, a fancy way of saying this is your entry-level technical job. This is the person who will come in and work for a company. They may start out on the help desk. We talked about that a bit ago. They might start in the help desk, or they might start out on the desktop support specialists in companies like this. We're also seeing huge growth in certain areas. Like a lot of people have said lately that there's no more market in the home technology specialist area, the DHTI, if you want to think of it that way, except that companies like Verizon and Time Warner have been just basically grabbing any and every student that's coming out of our program, primarily because we can cut their training time from a 6 to 9 month program down to a 1 to 2 month. So we're basically subsidizing their training, and they're really appreciating it. So we're seeing that. Also, we're seeing, again, the network engineer, network technician type of area. We're seeing phenomenal growth in that, especially, again, how to integrate with mobile apps and mobile technologies. Integrating the office environment, trying to go with cloud computing. We're seeing a lot of new areas as well.
So those are those people in that middle section of the pyramid that you saw earlier.
And of course, naturally, our basic computer science, which is where we have our programming area, is just huge. We offer at OCC, we offer in our computer science area, C++, Java, even Flash programming, and not only is every class filled, but every class has a huge waiting list, as well as when they're coming out, they're being hired. They're actually looking for entry-level programmers. So we're seeing a huge growth in it. Now, not necessarily they're all staying in California. They're being recruited.
Tied to that is what kind of minimum level are employers looking for terms of certificates, CompTIA certifications or other certifications for some or all of those top job openings?
I would say for definitely the technical support specialist, field technician, A+, with, by the way, any of these possibly with the exception of the programmer, even though I argue with our CS people that even your programmer should have A+ background, the hardware and OS foundations and fundamentals. And you know, that's being discussed. But definitely all of these, A+ for the network engineer, network technician, Network Plus and Security Plus, because those provide a vendor neutral level of competency that our employers are now looking for. And then we are also seeing quite a bit of demand in, again, Cisco CCNA is desirable, but even CCENT, the entry-level technician certification is very, very
good. And that's enough for an entry-level job?
That's what they're requiring.
Our experience, maybe I'm a little 2 years out of date here in the Bay Area, is because people that were laid off from .com long 10 years ago. There were so many people who had CCNPs and advanced credentials that it was very hard to get entry-level work with just a network plus and a security plus.
We did see a lot of that for long. What's happening is I think over the last 10 years, we've seen where those people that were laid off, that had it, they've been reabsorbed back into the system. So I think we're now starting to see a shortage. Again, certain areas are less in demand than others. We're seeing a growth. I'm in the Orange County area of Southern California. We're seeing growth in that area. LA County, still very dismal, but that's LA County. Well, no, it's just the budgets just haven't quite caught up with it. But we're seeing a tremendous demand where companies are coming into Southern California, possibly Northern California, and recruiting students who have these skills, because we tend to be producing a lot of students as compared to other local states, and there is a demand for it.
Anybody else with other feedback?
I'm in the Sacramento region. In our region, we're short about 500 Bachelor of Science degrees in computer science each year. That's what we're short. that's 500 more jobs than we have people with bachelor's degrees graduating to fill them. And that's looking at Chico, Davis, and Sac State that we're pulling from. So when we look at that, we really want to push our students to finish that bachelor's degree. We don't have enough going on for that because they'll get their 2 years, get a job somewhere, and they're done. And they don't come back and finish the bachelor's degree, or they'll finally come in and say, okay, I just got my certificate from you, now I'm going to actually take my general ed so I can go back for my degree.
Anybody else?
Yeah, as a people in the Bay Area, is network plus security plus enough to get a job in your experience? It is at my school.
Certainly.
I'm in the Monterey County area, and in my last batch of 24 students, half of them were already employed, and we got 7 placements locally in government jobs for the students that had applied for internship. They got internship, and then they got jobs, and these are like $24 an hour jobs. So there's a great demand.
Somebody else? What are the fields where the top opportunities are? This is probably not a big surprise, but government and healthcare. There's so many different jobs in the healthcare area. What our research has told us through the Department of Labor is that 10 of the 20 fastest growing occupations are in or related to the healthcare industry. The more highly regulated an organization or an industry is, the more types of jobs and opportunities you're going to have, because there's so much specialization of labor. And then one of the things that I was a little bit surprised about, because I expected there to be more of a business focus, but the government being here is one of the top 20. Well, I guess I'm not surprised it's in the top 20, but it was listed very prominently in this survey because of replacement of outdated ICT systems was the main reason. Who's doing healthcare type related ICT training right now? Courses.
Are any of your colleges involved with, there's a grant, there's a federal grant funded by that stimulus money?
Yeah.
We're part of that grant. We're training people in the HIT, Healthcare Information Technologies, and I'm one of the...
So, did you put your classes in computer science or healthcare IT?
Both.
That's the big fight we're having now in our district.
We actually have a wonderful relationship at my college between the computer science people, the CIS area, my area, and the allied health, which is where it is. And we have a very, very good relationship. Now we're not offering the program at this point in the for credit. Right now it's being offered in the not for credit area because of the way we're setting up the classes and the instructors that are doing it, and with the highly accelerated methodologies that the feds have put on us. They want students out of the program in 6 months. So we're doing 4-week classes, majority online, et cetera, et cetera. But it's, the job opportunities are just incredible. And if you look at the curriculum, most of the technical curriculum is in the networking and security arenas.
All right. So some of the things that I just want to talk, kind of deviate a little bit over to certification. One of the things that we do is, as we survey our members and other companies that are non-members of CompTIA, we want to know if certification makes a difference in the work skills or work proficiencies of their employees. And we hear things, that some of the things that they're talking to us about are, you have to have team skills. So I know so many of you are working on like your capstone courses where you build skills that people can work effectively in teams and in teams that are ever shifting. So this week you may be working with one group and the next week you're working with someone else. So you're not just that lone wolf IT or ICT worker out there anymore. But the other thing is, what do you hear when people have finished, your graduates, when they come back to you, where do they go for additional training? Do they go to other organizations for specific certification type of credentials, or are they after their certificate, you've got, or after their diploma is earned, you've got some other is earned. You've got more things for them that are elective type things.
And we have new courses coming out all the time, so, yeah.
Okay. Same thing pretty much across the board. Okay, so that's good. So you've got retention. It's always easy to bring back a student to try to attract a new one.
You know, to address these issues, though, one of the things, we're a national NSF Center for Security, and one of the things we've really been promoting is competitions, getting students involved in competitions. So, I mean, they're learning teamwork, they're learning how to think on their feet, problem solving, so on. And we're launching a high school level security curriculum this year for the competition for the first time.
You've got yours. Is yours through CompTIA?
Yes.
Is that merging with the CyberWatch? I know they've.
I mean, we've always been. There's 3 centers in the country: CyberWatch, the Oklahoma Center, and CompTIA. We're a national resource center.
Okay.
But one of the ways to build these things are the different types of competitions out there. We literally have a club now that, with the number of competitions, they can compete 4 or 5 times a year now as a team, and different competitions that are being sponsored around the country.
Yeah, so maybe you can check in with John and get some information about that, or if you want to check in with what CyberWatch is doing, I can put you in touch if you're not already a member with some of the people there, because they're doing something very similar. Yes.
How much is there a membership for that, or how do they pay? How does the cost the student certified?
To become certified, let me get to that. Hang on to that question for a little bit longer. Okay, so some of the education trends, and all of you have probably very little problem filling classes. You're always going to have some that don't always fill up. If you're doing ICT types of courses, there's usually a fairly strong demand, what I found anyway, across the country. But some of the things that we're learning from our companies is, they're starting again, after this long, painful recession, we're starting to see more companies who are selecting or designating a particular percentage of their budget on promoting, training, retraining, and to help retain some of their good ICT workers. They are making more commitment to ongoing training, so that like a place I used to work, someone said, we don't want to give our employees too much training because they'll leave. So the alternative is you don't train them at all and they stay. You have to, if somebody's not doing the job that you want them to do, and you don't want to put any money into it. So, but the other thing is well-managed, highly visible IT security teams. How many of you have a really highly visible and annoying ICT security team at your schools? I know I used to when I was working in the community college. They just kind of overran our lives. But this is something that it is a growing area. Is that all right. So just hit a couple of these graphs real quickly. This is something that reported back on one of our surveys from 2009. But how are your students getting their education paid for? 53% employers paid the entire costs of tuition, books, and the expenses, certification exam costs. The certification costs, and then 52% also paid for the training and books, and then 23% of companies are offering some type of training internally, whether that's a corporate university setting or specialized courses from time to time. How are they finding training for their employees? Well, 49% are sending them to a training company, or what we'll call a professional training center that exists just to do specialized training. And then you folks are in here at 28%, local community college or 4-year school. In some cases, these are adult programs that are offered in high school districts. Courses run by your employer, 10%, online programs, whether they're your distance ed programs or others, only 4%. So we're not seeing as much of an acceptance. Some of the other things that, passing notes. Some of the other things, some of the materials used in training classes, 87% for textbooks, practice exams, 81% of training organizations use those. Study guides are used by almost 70%, all the way down to where we have internet-based instructor-led study at 20% almost. some of the next things that are coming up in necessary skills? Well, we're seeing a lot of interest through our surveys in Web 2.0 software, social networking, and communities. We'll talk about those real quick. Just collaborative tools, interactive tools through Web 2.0. I'm going to throw this back to you a little bit and find out if you're doing any kind of courses that work with SharePoint, anything specialized where you're doing it.
Not at the present time. It's one of those areas that we're kind of following the trend, and we're hearing that yes, everybody wants people with social media development skills. Not so much can you use Facebook, can you use Twitter. I mean, everybody, our students are much better at it than of course we are. But it's being able to promote. One of the areas that I'm again working very, very closely with some of our business community is, especially with our marketing and our advertising departments within the division, is our companies actually utilizing the social media, and are they using it correctly? So one of the areas is, yes, figuring out how to set up a Facebook account for a company. The technical stuff is not that difficult, but it's how do you approach it correctly? How do you get out there? It's like the old days when, we want a web presence, so somebody sits there with a little HTML editor, comes up with one of the most boring, dumb web pages, but we have a web presence. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, we just don't need the presence. We need it to be interactive. We need it to be highly engaging, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the same thing is now holding true with social media, is that a lot of companies are saying, yes, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on XYZ, whatever the next greatest, latest thing that comes down the road is. But are they using it effectively, and they're using it right? So that's where there, again, is a great synergistic approach between, let's say, your technology areas, computer science or CIS areas, combined with your business, and in this case would be specifically marketing areas. You can get some great relationships to work the classes together. And I think we're going to see more of that, not less.
I know, unless you have incredibly strong vision, you can't read this, but this is just something you can eye from here. But some of the things that we asked questions about with our corporate survey back in 2009 was, how many of you have your CEOs on Facebook? And this is 31%. CEO has a Twitter profile, 14%. How many of you have a Facebook account that you use to interact with your students? Okay, how many of you have one and don't want to admit it? How many of you have a Facebook account that you don't use to interact with your students? There we go. How many of you have a Twitter account? Same question, that you use to interact with your students? Okay. What about one that you use to, of course, I guess you can't tell when they follow. You can't tell when they follow you. So here's one of my questions. For someone who said they don't, but they have a Twitter account that you don't interact with your students, tell me why you've made that choice. I'm just curious. Why would you not want to use it to interact with your students?
I didn't know when you said that.
Oh, no, we did have a couple people back here. You do?
Honestly,
Oh, yes, please. No, make something up.
the problem is that students get very casual about the information that they release on a Facebook page.
Boy, that's an understatement.
And I'm concerned about the ethics involved, about how much I instantly learn about them, how much they instantly learn about me. I can control what I put up, but I can't control what they put up.
Okay,
And I
that's true.
can't control what they
So you don't want that in your timeline. You don't want that
Yeah.
flowing through your.
It's not a formal classroom situation.
Okay.
They behave differently in a formal classroom
So
situation.
are you using Moodle or Blackboard or some other type of thing for your classroom management?
My problem with Twitter is they're already coming in using text slang, and they can't write a report, they can't speak proper English. And then you go to Twitter, you're limited to 180 characters, and it gets even worse. So,
I mean, you can use a Facebook page that's not necessarily your private page. I mean, you can create pages. We have one for our computer club. We have one for some of our classes. You'll find today's students use Facebook to communicate way more than they do email and even text in most cases.
Yeah, that's
So, you know,
that's what I was
I mean,
gonna
to
get
me,
to is-
it's just a way of hiring a level of interaction with them.
Yeah, I just wondering, because what I'm finding is that's where they are. That's the world that they exist in, and I grew up as part of the email generation and love email, and I'm using text messaging a little more. Bill and I were communicating, trying to meet up for dinner last night for via text message, but I'm seeing my daughter is no longer using email at the level that she used to. It's all text and Facebook.
And the other one you should probably have on there is LinkedIn, because I think
LinkedIn.
almost 100% of our students.
Yeah, I was going to ask about LinkedIn, but that I see more professionals are using that, and that's your communication. How many of your schools have a social media director or officer that controls what the school puts out? I mean, a formal person that does that. Okay. Only a couple?
Well, it's a
It looks like you're thinking about doing that. Is that the job you want to apply for?
No. What happened in Ireland, I was an education in Ireland, being a press officer there.
Okay.
I want to go back to your thing, is I've been kind of insist on email with my students, because then I save the email that Facebook, or especially Twitter, is too ephemeral, and I need to have that documentation when they said, no, I sent you the paper, and then, I didn't, and then there's this dispute about a grade.
Sure.
So they're inappropriate because we do need to have kind of accountability with those kinds of environments.
Yeah, and I don't mean necessarily official communication, like you were talking, it's very informal, but just sometimes just to say, hey, big test, reminder, study for the test. I'm just curious because I'm seeing more and more educators that are doing it. I'm actually seeing more and more what John is talking about, having specialized pages and groups.
And in talking to some of our students, and we have a daughter that's in college as well, the other thing about Facebook that I'm finding in a non-official poll is they're keeping friends longer. They're keeping that Facebook group longer throughout their business careers to say, okay, I lost my job. Who knows what the heck's going on over here? Where can I find a job? So they're using it in a lot of other ways that we didn't have.
Yeah, exactly. Just another means of rapid and
Another thing you're talking about, they use Facebook like that, is that I still think I'd have to find our average age of student is something like 26 or something. So the day breaks down into subgroups. There's obviously our intro students who are more of the 18 to 21 group, who are much more into social media. But for a large number of students, especially coming back for certifications in the industry, Facebook isn't their thing.
Yeah, some of it is, but
So it's not an appropriate medium for a lot of folks.
I'm just curious because one of the things that CompTIA did in 2009 was we actually have a director of our social media, so we actually have several people whose responsibilities, because we do several events every year, and there's videos, there's photographs taken, there's interviews, there's presentations, but that kind of stuff is always literally shared. And one of the things that they taught me about Twitter is we don't want to send out a big announcement. We want to use Twitter to kind of say, here's where the information is on our Facebook page or on our web page. Check out our conference in August. So they use it as kind of a teaser trailer like you get at the movie theater. So like we were talking about all these different communities, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, there's all kinds of different media. There's of course blogging. Anybody do a particular specialized blog on ICT that you have going? Okay, this one that you started or something you do officially?
Well, it's my professional development where I go to a lot of like technical meetups and conferences like this and stuff, and so I just put it in a blog when I do that, and students and colleagues.
Okay, very good, very good. So I want to talk a little bit about CompTIA certifications. And I want to kind of go back to someone's comment earlier about your question about networking, or Network Plus and A Plus, how they stack up for job selection for a job. There's over 1 million people that have earned CompTIA certification since we launched our first A Plus test in 1993. And all of you have heard of our different certifications. Primarily A Plus is the one we launched in '93. It's the most popular. But we have our certifications recognized in over 105 countries at this point, where they're offered through Prometric or VU testing centers. We're launching several new certifications this year. We just announced Monday, I think, in a press release, our affiliation with the Storage Network Industry Association. We call it Storage Plus, because we're seeing storage and all the technologies around that becoming more and more important to all of us. So, the question that was asked earlier A+ and Network Plus is, we have used the term for a long, long time. The CompTIA certifications are vendor neutral. What does that mean to any of you? You hear that? Because I know Bill actually used that term for me earlier. I didn't expect him to. But what's vendor neutral?
Means it doesn't matter what type of computer you have or the specific type of software.
Okay.
We open source.
Yeah.
You're learning a skill set.
Say that again, sir.
You're learning a skill set, not a vendor.
There we go. And so I like to say that our tests are non-product specific. A lot of times we go, what does vendor neutral mean? You just said it so well. You're learning a skill set, but not necessarily learning a skill set about a particular software program or a particular hardware device. So we find that our certifications are used as foundational, or when they stand on their own, because of the skill sets. We find that they're used as elective credit in the programs of some of these other companies you see here. Cisco used to use A+, Microsoft has in the past for some of their Microsoft certified programs. So when I asked earlier, and I think you answered, when your students leave and then come back, it's because you have new curriculum, you've got new things for them to try out. Probably you're looking more and more at that point in their career specific, product specific, or a technology specific type of learning. And that's what we see is that we don't have a lot of well-seasoned technicians coming back and taking an A+ test or a Network Plus test. It's mostly entry level. But that's the type of students that often you see as career changers. I just got a couple of slides here. Yes, sir.
Our students have been complaining that the CompTIA tests are kind of Intel specific. There's not a lot of Mac, there's not a lot of Linux.
Right. I mean, I don't know yet, right,
You're
they're
talking
complaining,
about
but
vendor
that's
specific.
accurate. Yeah, we're not, what's that?
It's still a dominant platform.
Yeah,
so
our tests are designed by subject matter experts, and I'm not involved in content for the exams at all, but the feedback that we get is that is the content that people want on that test. At different times we've had Mac questions, but it is not a test to that deals too much with the Mac platform or the Linux operating system, although in the past both types of questions have appeared. Now when we launched our Linux Plus test a few years ago, we eliminated Linux-based questions off of A+. But Mac has never been a platform that's been really formally recognized on the A+ test.
Can I interject for a second? Because I get the same thing in my classes. They say, well, why is it all, why does, especially the operating system portion, seem to be very, very heavily weighted to the Windows platform, and now specifically Windows 7? And the answer is, I tell my students, it's surface area. If you're going to go get a job as a entry-level technician, field technician, the vast majority of the computers you're going to see, touch, and handle will be Windows. For better or worse, do we all love Macs? Of course. Do we all wish the world was completely Mac? Possibly. But the reality of it is that most of the people who are going to get hired are going to be Windows users, or going to be the Windows side. So that's why it is, and that's why I tell my students. Now, on the other hand, as Microsoft evolves, I think it's going to be one of those things that Microsoft is getting closer to the Mac than Macs are getting to Microsoft or to Windows. So I think that if you're telling your students that, yes, you want to be Mac, you want to know more about Mac, you can inject that into your class. But the tests themselves have to hit the largest audience for the training. I mean, yes, you could be Mac certified, and you're hitting still 10, 15% of the market share. Linux even less. So again, you're aiming at a very large market share. Now, in the hardware portion, the hardware technology, there is no, there's no specifics to Intel versus AMD, or to a particular hard drive manufacturer, even to a particular technology, SATA versus IDE, for example. And in the Network Plus, there's absolutely no vendor. I mean, we can talk about Microsoft Windows servers, or we can talk about Linux servers. In fact, you do. And in that case, the tests are very, very vendor non-neutral. It's just that the A+ tends to focus where the jobs are.
When you said the thing about do we all wish Mac was taking over the world, there were little stickers of private embarrassment over here. I don't know why. But here's a couple of slides on our test. CompTIA Network Plus is our second most popular certification, and very strong third is Security Plus. These slides, of course, are available for you to download or obtain in some way after the conference. So this just has some information that's pretty widely available on our website. I want to take about 3 seconds and mention our membership program. Up until the end of 2010, community college membership was $890 a year. Several of your schools were members. We are converting that in 2011 to be a $500 membership. So we're reducing the price of membership if you want to have what we call a full CompTIA educational membership, or academic membership. If you want just a basic membership, it's free. And that will launch in February. So you can see my contact information. If you want to get in touch with me about how to do that, I can send you the application paperwork after the conference. But the full membership will allow you to obtain our certification test at a discount. And the $500 fee, you can either pay that fee, or a more wise thing to do would be simply to order $500 or more of our certification vouchers with your membership application, and the membership fee is waived. So you actually gain a membership and all the benefits, which include free certification exams for your faculty members at no cost. So that's something brand new for 2011. One of the reasons I'm also in San Francisco is working with our marketing team in a meeting yesterday on finalizing those details. So while this is not an official announcement, it is 99.9% of an official announcement. This will be rolling out right after the 1st of February. So I can talk to you individually about that, but you'll be seeing that on our website. For those of you who are current members or former members, you'll get